Yesterday, a group of stevedores staged a spontaneous strike that at the port of Belize Limited that caused a ship to sail away without unloading a Christmas shipment that came from Florida. According to the stevedores, CEO of the port of Belize, Arturo Vasquez, is going back on his word. This is in regards to the retroactivity of the stevedores' pensions. In a meeting late yesterday evening, President of the Christian Workers Union, Audrey Matura Shepherd, told Vasquez that the strike is sanctioned by the union, and as a result, Vasquez told Love News that negotiations have been suspended.
Our concern really is that we are in the middle of a negotiation that is going pretty good, really. We have kept all schedules, all topics that we have been discussing, and really to call a strike in the middle of it is really against everything that we have agreed to, because in the agreement to get on with the negotiation, we agreed that we would try to leave the striking to a minimum, and we also agreed that strikes would have to be something sanctioned or approved by the CWU. So again, yesterday was another example of having the stevedores being the one to create the strike and not knowing really until 5 or 6 hours later on whether it's an official strike.
Ms. Matura said yesterday that this is a result of the stevedore being tired of being pushed around and not being able to trust a party that they're in negotiation with.
It's unfortunate that she said or even used the word distrust, because really, while they have been around trying to do this for, let's say, 11 years, I have only been there since 2012. So I can only speak from 2012. And since 2012 until now, we have done nothing but try to make these negotiations possible. So in this case, I don't know what it is that the mistrust is about, because there's an agreement that we signed in relation to the pension. So there's nothing, no truth in the fact that they have said on media that I have gone back on my word. The document is there. Now, whether we did not understand what the conditions are is something completely different. And I would understand that if we did not understand it, that obviously calls for more negotiation and more discussions. But how can you have that negotiation and discussion when you have a gun to your head, with them on strike? So they have to consider the position. They have to consider the fact that we agreed that in the negotiation we would need to keep the strike to a minimum. Nobody can negotiate in a position like that. The stevedores are currently getting a pension. It is not that they don't have a pension. Every stevedore that retires gets a pension. So there is a pension in place. What was negotiated and discussed was an improvement to that pension, improving the percentage, improving what it would be calculated on. So really, a pension is a long-term piggy bank, so to speak. So there's all the benefits going forward of stevedores knowing that their pension has increased significantly going forward. And that is what the negotiation was about. She thought, or at least they believed, that we were going to retract this back to 2004. Gentlemen, that's a significant amount of funds that the port, in a position they are in right now, we are not able to meet something like that. So it would have been difficult for me to have agreed to something like that. But I think it needs to be clear that a pension is being paid. What has been agreed was an increase to that pension. There is a misunderstanding, and for us to get through that misunderstanding, we have to get back to negotiations. I understand the position of the stevedores. I understand the need for a pension, but at the same time, I need to be able to responsibly work with financing that I can afford. Let's also remember that they're not even entitled to a pension because they don't work enough days in a year. So the fact that they are actually getting a pension right now and now getting an increase in their pension is by all means a plus for them.
So the negotiation have been suspended?
Well, yes, it has to, because again, what I forgot to mention is, as of last night, I have written the Labor Commissioner to put this in the hands of the Ministry of Labor, because it is a labor matter. So we have now passed it on to them, and I believe that they will see what they can do in relation to communicating with the Christian Workers Union.
As you heard, the ship sailed to its next destination with the cargo that would have been unloaded in Belize. Several agencies and businesses have been impacted due to this strike. Vasquez said the strike can have a negative effect on the reputation of the Port of Belize Limited regionally and internationally.
This is the first time I've received it, and I think that those are signs that even the shipping agents and the shipping lines perhaps are getting to understand that, you know what, we can't be dealing with this situation. If you look at the letter was specific in saying that a ship is a part of a chain of stops that they have to do and one stop cannot affect their integrity in the entire process. So it worries me as to what the shipping agents and the shipping lines are also thinking. We need to think about Belize as a country and the effect of this. So I think it's in the hands of the ministry to decide really what can be done in a situation like this.
Would you say now that Belize would look bad regionally when it comes to that?
As I said, there's so much that can come out of this that we are hoping that it is not something that becomes, this can be an international thing. The port operates under international laws and rules. Ships have to come here under certain conditions. A ship cannot pull up to the port if they suspect that there is some sort of, problem going on at the port. They may not come up at all. So it is something that the officials, the government, and everybody has to be looking at, including the union has to make sure that they are responsible in whatever they are doing. That's why we need to negotiate. Negotiations is about give and take, and that's what we need to do. If you create a strike, obviously you're holding a gun to somebody's head. So there's no way for you to proceed with any sort of negotiations when you're put in that position.
Does this as well impact negatively the stevedores as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you don't work a ship, you don't get paid. So that also is a condition that, well, we don't know what the conditions are, but we assume that it is not all stevedores that are in this. There are only a few. So they also have to consider themselves. If you don't work a boat, you don't get paid. So it's a day where you're not paid.
And you mentioned that you have yet to establish the financial implication, but that particular ship, who all will be affected locally?
Well, whoever had merchandise on it. I mean, even the port, the customs. I mean, there's no duties, there's nothing at all. I don't know if there's be a double shipment charge for the people who have their stuff coming in. So there has to be a quantum, and we have to work that out, and we'll provide that to the port authority as to what was the quantum of what would have been considered a loss as of yesterday's event.
The Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry has weighed in on the issue and, according to its release, says, quote, BCCI strongly condemns the abrupt strike action taken yesterday by Gang Number 7 of the Christian Workers Union. This ill-advised strike action has costly consequences for the entire economy in terms of lost sales, lost government revenue, and lost income, particularly during the Christmas season, and thus should not be treated trivially. End of quote. The BCCI warns that there are strong possibilities of further losses to the entire economy via delayed exports as well as imports. BCCI calls on both parties to return to the negotiating table and resume operations.